In today's episode of Easy Publishing to the Central Repository, we're going to continue to pass the criteria to publish and deploy to the Central Repository via OSSRH with following the example about Apache Maven as documented here on the site. After setting everything up and configuring PGP or GPG, as well as adding all the metadata to the pom.xml in the project, we are now able to deploy to the repository and pass the POM validation. However, we're still failing the signature, the Javadoc, and the sources attachment requirements, which is what we're going to make sure that they get passed now as well. The documentation shows here nicely how we can do that. We will add this plugin configuration for the Maven source plugin as well as the Javadoc plugin to create those two archives, and we will add the GPG plugin to sign the artifacts and configure the settings.xml. Looking at the POM file now, we have this new build segment for the plugins, and we have configured the Maven source plugin to run the gold jar no fork, which will create a jar artifact that contains the sources. And similarly, the Maven Javadoc plugin will run the jar plugin, which will create the Javadoc and assemble it all into another artifact that contains the HTML sources, Javadoc versions. And then last but not least, we also configured in the same section, again the plugin here, the Maven GPG plugin, in this case to sign the artifact, and we've added this to run in the verify phase, so after all the artifacts are packaged. To see this new configuration in action, we can run Maven clean deploy here, for example, on the command line, and we'll see how the different plugins are activated. Here we can see that the Maven source plugin built a jar, the Javadoc plugin built a jar, and then the GPG plugin performed the signing, and then the artifacts got installed locally in the local repository and then deployed to the OSSRH server in the staging repository that gets created. So let's see if these artifacts are sufficient to pass our validation. After logging into OSSRH here, the Nexus repository manager, navigating to the staging repositories and checking out my specific staging repository, I can see how I deployed this now. I can see it got open and created, and if I browse into the content, I can see that now the Javadoc sources and normal jars are all there, as well as the POM, and they are all also signed by the GPG plugin. So everything should be ready, so we can validate that by closing the repository. Refreshing the UI after this asynchronous validation and finding the same staging profile again, I can look at the activity, and now if I look at the closing event, I see that all the rules are now passing in terms of validation. So the sources is there, the POM validation is fine, Javadoc is there, and signature and checksum are also there. So now the central sync requirement is there. An email got sent to me in my notification, and I could release this artifact to the central repository because the release button is now available, and I could confirm and therefore publish my artifacts to the central repository. Once that's done, the synchronization only takes a little while, and then the synchronization for the artifacts to also be available in search.maven.org on a user interface might take a little bit longer, but the artifacts will be there within minutes of you pressing the confirm button here.